With your permission, Your Excellency, I'll request to remain standing as I invite Madame Elizabeth Madoka to lead us in a word of prayer.
Your Excellency, distinguished guests, loved ones and friends, good morning. I am priest and I'm Elizabeth Madoka. I love Jesus as my Savior. I am happy and proud of Major Madoka for bringing us here to celebrate the launch of his book by His Excellency President of Kenya. I thank the Lord God as we have gathered in this simple house of our nation, Kenya. We are not celebrating literary achievements, but also in honoring life of service to Kenya and its people by the author, Marsden Madoka. Let us pray. Almighty God, our Creator and Creator of the universe, thank you for your wisdom and grace. We bow our heads before you in thanksgiving this day, O Lord. We thank you for the gift of the strength, wisdom, and patriotism you have granted to Marsden, of which is now poured into this book. We pray for your abundant blessings upon this book. May it be its stories inspire, its lessons, guidance, and its legacies endure for the benefit of our nation. May we lift up to you, O Lord, our beloved country, Kenya. Grant us your love, peace, and unity, and prosperity. Bless our nation, President, His Excellency William Samoei Ruto, and all nation leaders. Grant them your wisdom beyond their own integrity in their decisions and any heart for justice and service. May they lead us with a vision that foster harmony and progress for every citizen in this country. Lord, surround us with your favor as we celebrate today. May all that is done there be on your glory. For we pray in Jesus' name.
Amen. May we kindly take our seats. Your Excellency, Dr. William Samoei Ruto, President and Commander-in-Chief of the Kenya Defense Forces, Major Retired Marsden Madoka, Elizabeth Madoka and family, Chair, Kenya Literature Bureau, Dr. Rispa Wepukulu, honorable members present, including Honorable Amos Wako, former PS Philemon Mwisaka, all dignitaries present, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Today, we gather for the launch of a memoir, At the Ready, the life and career of a distinguished statesman. Your Excellency, to start us off on the speeches, allow me to now call the CEO, KLB, Mr. Paul Kibet, to make a few remarks before we progress. Welcome, sir. We may welcome him with a clap. Karibu sana.
Your Excellency, the President of the Republic of Kenya, Major Retired Marsden Madoka, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Your Excellency, allow me to recognize the team that we have come with from KLB because they're the people that's driving the institution, and I would like to ask the board members who are there to kindly stand for recognition before I make a few remarks. Your Excellency, because of the short notice, that is a team that I was able to assemble. Dr. Rispa Wepukulu is the chair, Mr. David Kimeto, and Mr. Marcelino Lesangoro are the board members who are able to come. Kindly sit. We also have staff members. I will not ask them to stand, but we are represented by a number of staff members who are heads of department. Your Excellency, Kenya Literature Bureau has a history, and the history dates back to 1948 when we had the East African Literature Bureau, and when the community broke in 1977, KLB became a department in the Ministry of Education before becoming a parastatal in the year 1980, and we have been running the business of churning out educational material and non-educational materials, and that is why we are here. We would like to welcome you, Your Excellency, to come and visit that institution. We are doing a great job. You will be proud of. The team that you have seen this morning have been able to deliver literary and non-literary materials, educational materials like the textbooks that we supply to our schools, and ours are priced in such a way that it accommodates the pocket of the mwananchi. Your Excellency, allow me to make a few remarks just to usher in the order. Your Excellency, it's an honor to join you this morning in celebrating the life of Marsden Madoka, a distinguished leader whose service in both public and private sector has left a legacy. From his early days in the hills of Taita Forest, where he was hunting birds like all young boys, to being an officer at the officer cadet and being the aide-de-camp to our founding president, and being a minister of state and provincial administration, where you were his assistant minister. He has left a legacy, and we're very proud of him. At the Kenya Breweries, he championed sports and talent recruitment, and that is why he was able to nurture at Amateur Boxing Association. He was able to produce people like Wangila, who are trailblazing boxers representing our nation. KLB is proud to publish his memoirs, and in doing so, we are supporting local authorship. And we want to encourage all our leaders to do their memoirs through KLB. We thank you, Your Excellency, for accepting to launch this memoir that has been done at KLB. And we also want to request, as a KLB, we want to request you, when it's time for you to do your memoirs, please consider Kenya Literature Bureau. We have done quite a number, and we have done for Mama Elizabeth Madoka, and this is the first family that has done their memoirs through KLB. And therefore, we're asking that all our leaders, please challenge them, Your Excellency, to write their memoirs when they still have strength and when KLB is there. So I want to take this opportunity to congratulate Major Retired Marsden Madoka for doing your history, and it's our pleasure as KLB to be identified with that. Thank you, Your Excellency.
Thank you. And with that, Your Excellency, it is now my pleasure to invite the man of the moment, retired Major Honorable Marsden Madoka, to make some remarks. Why don't we give him a hearty clap And keep clapping until he gets to the point where he's going to be speaking. As the man of the moment, he has gathered us here today to celebrate together the memoirs of a distinguished statesman. Welcome, sir.
Good morning, Your Excellency, and good morning, the rest. Your Excellency, and all of you distinguished guests, thank you so much for coming to this function. When I was thinking of this autobiography, I didn't know where to start and so on. And then when also I thought, who should launch this book? You know, I had no choice but to go to the president. Because I have a history with him. When I was minister, he was my assistant minister. And one of the problems I had with him, when I had questions to be answered in Parliament, and I wanted him to be there, I will be told, no, he went for lunch with the president. And so many times, Bunge will ring me to tell me, wapi Minister wako? So I had to rush and answer the questions on his behalf as my assistant minister. But we got on well. I didn't tell him off, or did I? I was told he's a very ambitious young man, and now I can see, indeed, he was ambitious. You see where he is. I'm so delighted to be surrounded by so many of you here today. I feel greatly honored because it's not easy to get your friends to come and support you. But here, we've got people like Amos Wako here. He was my good friend. He was the AG, and occasionally I went to consult him. So thank you very much for coming. State House has a special place in our lives with Elizabeth. Because we first met here in State House. I'd never seen her anywhere. But when I was chosen as ADC, nilikuja nikaangalia, tukapatana, nikaona anaanza kuonyesha dalili ya kunipenda. We lived here. She lived in State House for over 8 years, in State House. And as I say, we met here. In the evenings, my house was behind State. This is not a State House I knew. My house was behind State House. She lived in State House. So, in the evenings, I used to stroll back to come and play billiards with her. Of course, I was teaching her. I didn't know I had any other motive other than that. But that came on, and we got to know each other. And also, I think she began to like me a bit too much, but I fell in love with her. I also took time to teach her swimming in State House swimming pool. So I was a tutor, her tutor in swimming. Sometimes we didn't quite finish the swimming properly, whatever that may mean. But we enjoyed it there. But this State House, I have also a special relationship, because the first multiracial school, Hospital Hill School, was down here somewhere. And the governor, Sir Evelyn Baring, was very supportive of the multiracial education. So in the afternoon or in the evening, he'll walk down the road here. We used to say Gate D. I don't know what it is called today. It's still D. So he used to walk down here, and when he came to the school there, he would wave at us and we'll come and chat with him. And occasionally we'll get out of that fence and walk him back to Government House. And of course, as youngsters, we enjoyed that, and here is the governor, we are taking him back to his house, but we never got to the house, but we pushed him back. So I have that relationship. So that's why I'm saying, Your Excellency, this has special significance. So thank you so much for having agreed to host us at the launch of this book. In my history, we were the first Kenyans, black Kenyans, to join the multiracial school. It was the first multiracial school here. And when it started, there were 8 of us, black fellows. There was the Dr. Marthy's children, Mareka Gichaga's children, a few others, but we were only 8. So we went to the school just down here. Mr. President, I don't know whether you've been to my school, my primary school. It is still there, but it is not a hospital school, it is one of those primary schools. And I always wish that a president like you will one day wake up and say, sasa hii shule nataka niipe majengo mapya, because they're still on the wooden blocks we used to have, and it needs to be looked at. So may I speak for them? That you see what you can do and help them to get a decent place. I want also to extend my appreciation to all the leaders who have spoken here before. My special thanks, I'd like to thank my sister Grace there. Wajua ukiwa mkubwa, mara nyingine unatumia watu wako kukufanyia kazi sana. So that sister of mine, she's the one who has been running around and doing. I don't know what I would have done without her. And may I whisper, she's still single. Let me also take this opportunity to thank the Literature Bureau for having taken this task to work with me. They have been exceptionally good. I was greatly supported by your team. Incidentally, you also did my wife's book. So as a Madokas, we really thank the KLB and Mr. Ndegwa there. No, Mr. Where is it? Got Ndegwa there, who has really been working with us. So thank you very much, Kenya Literature Bureau. I have worked with great people, and I feel greatly honored that I was able to make certain decisions for this country. When I made the very difficult decision of retiring for the army, General Mulinge, who was the boss then, felt that was too good an officer to leave the army. So he called me and said, no, Marsden, you can't. You stand a chance of getting to the top. He encouraged me. And in fact, he told me, go away and come back after 2 weeks. Then I'll decide whether to accept your retirement or not. Anyway, eventually, he had no choice because I had made my mind. I had prayed about it, I had spoken to my father about it, and I was moving rather too fast within the army. A young officer, I was only 22 when I was made a captain, the youngest officer that the army has ever had, I mean in terms of the rank. And so I was doing well. But I told him I need to make a change because I saw the army was small. It was not growing. There were no plans to expand it at that time. And I felt that I should make my exit and do something else. And then I had this other gentleman called Mr. Matiba. We used to meet very often, and he's the one who said, Marsden, yeah, come, I'll take you at the breweries, give you a good job, and so on and so forth. And indeed, he offered me a job. He said, I'll invite you as a chief security and safety officer at the Kenya breweries and East African breweries. And we will pay you. He showed me what they were paying. It was very exciting. The figure was certainly better than what I was getting in the army. So I accepted to resign from the army and joined Kenya breweries. When I went to tell my army, my general, I was working as a military assistant then to General Mulinge. He called me, well, I went to tell him that I planned to leave. When I went and he called me, Marsden, why do you want to make this mistake? We're a small army, you are for a small tribe, nyinyi wataita ni watu wapole, wema. Nikasema yes, sisi ni watu wema. Lakini nipe nafasi ni ende nifanye mengine. Then he even brought out a list of the senior officers who would be my competitors to get to the top. He mentioned people like my friend there, Jack Munya, Msomba. There's Mulinge, there's Msomba there. He was one of the senior officers. There was Pande. There was four of them. He said, out of all those four, you'll be one of them to get to the top. Because you're from a small tribe and you're not a bad officer. So he sent me away for 2 weeks and said, after 2 weeks, you come back and tell me whether you've still stood by your decision. I said, sawa. So I went, I did a lot of consultations. I didn't change my mind. I said, I will continue and retire and go into the public sector. Going to the public sector was different, and I wanted now to go and show the Kenyans how to behave themselves, to be disciplined in the army way. And I joined the breweries, and after joining the breweries, I started moving, and although he took me as a general manager, security, within 3 months, he made me the general manager, human resources department. So I started developing the human resources development at the breweries. And we went on. I enjoyed myself. The salary was very exciting. Definitely a lot more than what I was getting at the army. And I think I worked fairly well with the officers of Kenya breweries. After that, they made me a director of Kenya breweries and a director of East African breweries. And the salary, I must say, was attractive. And I certainly enjoyed that fat salary of the breweries. But as we went on, I got interested in, once I left the army, I felt that, and the breweries was there, I stayed and I got involved very much with other social organizations. I joined sports. I took up boxing, became chairman of Boxing Association. I went into the boxing, world boxing, and got promotions there. And I enjoyed boxing. And in Kenya itself, up to today, I know that I did a lot for boxing in Kenya. We won the first gold medal in boxing during my era.
Excellency,
Nalalamika na wenzangu kwamba hawa vijana hawa watatuharibia. Sasa unaona vile mambo yalivyo. Sasa ujue ni njia gani utatumia kututuliza ili tufanye mambo yetu sawa sawa. Great for this nation. Mungu akubariki, uendeshe nchi hii vyema, na sisi sote tuunge President mkono. Sasa umesikia hayo makofi, utakuwa supported vyema. Thank you very, very, very much. Yes. Huyu ni kijana wangu ambaye nafanya kazi wapi?
Kenya Revenue Authority.
He works with Kenya Revenue Authority. Yes. Yeah. Okay. God bless you.
All right, and round of applause for the author. Thank you. Thank you very much. As you take your seat, sir, we just have 2 more engagements before we go to the signing of the book. And allow me, Your Excellency, at this point to invite Dr. Frank Jenga, who will speak briefly before we progress with the rest of our program. Tumpigie makofi. Daktari Frank Jenga is a man who needs very little introduction, particularly in the space where he operates, in the area of being a doctor wa mawazo na akili. Welcome, Daktari.
Your Excellency, you'll be happy to hear I only have 2 things to say. The first is that thank you for inviting my brother, Marsden. As he has explained, he came to Kiambu on a reading spree, took Elizabeth, and in revenge, I was sent to get his sister, and I continue to tell him I got a better deal. The second thing I would like to say, Your Excellency, is that I really appreciate the work that Kenya Literature Bureau continues to do. I'm an author, perhaps not a distinguished one like Marsden, but nonetheless an author, and I have heard some works done through the Literature Bureau. And if I may say this, there is no autobiography in this country that has been done in vain. As I have described previously, are like a jigsaw of our republic. And as Marsden has demonstrated, each and every one of us playing in any particular field has something interesting and useful to say. I used to say some were not very well written, but whatever the form, Bonapo, let us do autobiographies and biographies. I saw you, Amos, at the launch of Ekirapa's book, an excellent book that really captures the essence of the history of this country from center stage of the civil service. The last thing I'd like to say, because I must now allow the function to continue, is to congratulate you, Marsden. When I came in and we were in the holding room, I felt like we had a family reunion. And that is testament, Marsden, to the affection that not just your brothers and sisters have for you, and I have seen His Excellency nodding, because of the centrality of the position you have played in this, our country. This is your family, these are your friends. At short notice, they have come and witnessed this magnanimous day. Mr. President, I've been introduced as a man who has an interest in the field of mental health. That is completely true. Without appearing to lecture, let me say this. The number one killer of older people now is not heart disease, is not cancer, is not smoking, it is loneliness. And I would like us to understand that when you don't visit your parents, when they are old like this, you are committing a serious crime. Loneliness, more than anything else, is what is killing us. Marsden, you have invested in friends all your life, and that is the reason that you don't walk alone anymore. Your Excellency, allow me to stop there and to thank you for hosting all of us. On behalf of all these guests, thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, sir. And also allow me, Your Excellency, to now invite the former Attorney General, Honorable Amos Wako, to also just make some brief remarks. Tumpigie makofi akija tafadhali, anene machache. Karibu.
Your Excellency, the President of the Republic of Kenya, Dr. William Samoei Ruto, my very dear friend, Major, once a major, always a major. Don't say retired. Marsden, Madoka, and his dear wife, Elizabeth, the family of the Madokas, the friends of the Madokas. I want first of all to thank the President for having allowed this launch to be done here in the State House. I don't know, any of you, whether you are surprised when you got the invitation from Marsden to come. I'm having a big launch. Then I was waiting to hear it will be at Serena Hotel or it will be at Karen Club or some other place. But it was going to be at State House. I was very, very surprised, pleasantly surprised. Thank you, President, for making this State House truly a State House that belongs to the people. People have come here, and we are now here. And thank you particularly because you allowed Marsden to launch his autobiography here. I cannot think of any couple, short of the President, the first families and so on, who have dwelt in this place from their very youth, who have married very here when they were here, and who have made enormous contribution in laying the foundations of how this place should be run than Marsden and Elizabeth. And that you allowed them to come here and launch their life history. Mr. President, we thank you. Namakofi for President. I do not want in any way to dilute what Marsden has told us this morning. with a lot of sense of humor. Thank you, Marsden, for that. The only thing I can now maybe add and appeal to many like us to emulate and follow the example of Marsden. I know my friend Musila here, ameandika kitabu. We were there at the launch of his book, a top civil servant and also politician. People who have occupied high positions, both in the private sector and in the public sector, and in the public sector have also been politicians, I think, and have now retired, I think should be inspired to write autobiographies. The history of Kenya, to my mind, will not be written by historians whose reference would be newspapers and social media, because in that way you get a very warped sense of history of Kenya. I believe the history of Kenya is going to be written by people like Musila, people like Ikirapa, but more so by people like Marsden here, people who have given excellent service, who have been men of integrity, who have been men of service to this country. Imagine coming here when you are very young to be, I think, the first African State House controller and staying here for a long time. And you are handsome and all of the time standing behind President Jomo Kenyatta, the father of the nation. Imagine that. Imagine somebody taking part in a beauty pageant, the first of its type in Kenya, soon after independence, and being crowned as Miss Uhuru, Miss Kenya, the first one, a beautiful lady walking on the steps. And imagine the handsome man behind President Jomo Kenyatta. And imagine the lady who became Miss Kenya. Imagine them getting married in a wonderful wedding. I can tell you, your wedding inspired most of us. And we said, if we grow up, we would want to be like Marsden and Elizabeth in the way they bear themselves. So thank you so much. I was encouraging Mrs. Pratt here, my friend, you should also write a book because you have something to say. You have something to say for Kenyans to read and benefit. But it is autobiographies such as this that out of them will now come a history of Kenya which is realistic and which is true to the facts and which is not based on perceptions. It is based on reality. So, Marsden, I congratulate you for writing this. You have inspired me. I'm now thinking that maybe I should start writing something. The only thing is that maybe I was sleeping, but you didn't tell us how long it has taken you to write. I remember attending a launch about 2 weeks ago of an advocate and also a corporate person at Serena, had begun by saying, it has taken me 20 years to write this book. I went to him afterwards and told him, now, you have inspired me, but if I take 20 years, will I be able to complete my writing the book? I don't know how long you took. I may want to follow your example if it was a shorter time to write something, to put down something. You have inspired me, and thank you. You always inspire me. We worked together with Marsden when he was the Minister for Internal Security and Provincial Administration, And he did his job excellently well. He was in that position, and then he was also Minister for Foreign Affairs, and we worked again very closely together. The family of Marsden and my family were friends. This Dr. Njenga was just spoken here. We have been cracking jokes since when, 1961 or what? In London and everywhere else when we were students. So, to me, President, thank you for allowing this event to take place here. Thank you, Marsden, for inspiring me. And I don't want to touch on aspects of your life. I would just want to appeal to those who are here. Having listened to you, I hope they'll now go ahead and buy the book, which I believe is on sale, but the marketing persons will tell you. East African Literature Bureau, I did not know that they publish biographies such as this. I didn't know until today. But me, I was not an author, but before most of us here were born, around 1956, my father published a book with the East African Literature Bureau called The Customs and Traditions of the Luyas. He published in the Luya language, and then was later translated into the English, and I will negotiate with you to republish it because it's now in demand. Children want to know what are our traditions, what are our roots, and my father's book will come in handy. And I'm the administrator of the estate of my father, so I look forward to royalties from that book. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. I'll now request that we all be upstanding as we welcome His Excellency, the President, to make his remarks. Why don't we welcome him with a hearty and warm clap as he comes to address us. Welcome, Your Excellency.
Thank you very much. Let's take our seats. Asanteni sana. Let me take this opportunity first and foremost to welcome all of you to the launch of the book written by my boss, Major Marsden Madoka. Ladies and gentlemen, Major Marsden Madoka has truly lived up to the title of his memoir, At the Ready. Throughout his life, he has always been ready to serve, ready to lead, and ready to give of himself for his country and this nation. His story reminds us that patriotism is not about words. It is about action, about the choices we make, and about the service we give each other every day, every time, and to humanity. When we read At the Ready, we do more than revisit history. We are invited to walk alongside Major Madoka through Kenya's journey, to see our country's story through the eyes of someone who stood right at the center of its making. It is not just a book of memories. It is a gift of wisdom and reflection, reminding us where we've come from and what truly matters. Major Madoka has won many hearts in his lifetime: a soldier, a corporate leader, a minister, and a philanthropist. But through all these roles, one thing has never changed: his love for Kenya. His compassion has always pointed home, and in every duty he undertook, he carried the same values of service with honor, diligence, and humility. Listening to him this morning speaks to all those. His life challenges each one of us, wherever we are, whether in government, in business, in community, or in our families, may we also serve with humility, with competence, with passion, and with compassion. He reminds us that leadership is not about titles or positions. It is about purpose, integrity, and the difference we make in the lives of others. When I received a letter from Marsden that he wanted me to participate in the launch of his book, it was not whether I should. The only problem I was grappling with was when. And I want to say I'm truly happy to be part of a small piece of what Marsden has achieved. And it's not always that a book is launched in State House, but I made this exception for this great Kenyan leader. One, it's because he served this country with commitment, dedication, and integrity, especially as the aide-de-camp of our first president. And secondly, it is because he mentored me when I served under him in the office of the president. Anything good you see in me, attribute it to Marsden. I know he has said some very kind words about me. He has said many things about what his understanding of the relationship that we had. But I must confess that I had a really wonderful relationship with Marsden when I served under him as his assistant minister at the office of the president. And I didn't get to know much about before. But he has said several things about my relationship with the former president, President Moi. He has said some things about lunch. And he has said some things about ambition. I hope that young Kenyans in politics, in business, and in the civil society will turn to At the Ready, not only as a historical record, but also as a guidebook for principled leadership. Through his story, Major Madoka teaches lessons that will last beyond his lifetime. Lessons about duty, perseverance, and the unshakable faith in the promise of Kenya. Let us thank him deeply for giving us more than a personal memoir. Through At the Ready, he has preserved a part of our nation's history. He has ensured that future generations will understand where we came from and the sacrifices that built the Kenya we hold dear today. Before I make my remarks in conclusion, allow me to say a few things, because these are moments that will never come back. We will not have another occasion like this for somebody with the stature of Marsden Madoka to speak about his perspective of where Kenya came from, what he thinks worked for us, what he thinks could have been made better, and he has given us a perspective that comes from the heart of how government evolved in Kenya. I am privileged that he has also said a few things about me. And let me just reiterate that he has said a few things about when I first was elected as a member of parliament, I was not in very good books with the KANU government at that time, although I was a KANU member of parliament. And that is the reason why Madoka says I was very outspoken. And let me give a perspective, Marsden, and I tried to explain to you that time that when I did not decide, actually, I don't know, I did not decide that I was going to run. But one thing led to another, and then I found myself running for a member of parliament. And of course, KANU was the dominant party, and President Moi was a very strong leader. And so when I decided to run, I wasn't the favorite for the KANU party. There were senior people, there were people whose brands were known, and I was really the underdog, you know, and people didn't know me. We didn't have a history of any leadership in our family. And the closest, in fact, I remember during the campaign, for people to understand who I was, I had to make reference to one of our neighbors. I said, oh, you know that Mzee Paul Boit, he was formerly chairman of the county council in Uasin Gishu, and he was a fairly wealthy person. So I used to say, I am a neighbor of Paul Boit. That is the closest I came to in terms of brand. And so the reason why I was fairly outspoken initially was because I felt I hadn't been treated well by both KANU and the leader of KANU then, the former President Moi, who later became a very good friend of mine after he understood me. So when I ran in the KANU elections, the KANU machine was really against me. And Moi himself came to Eldoret and told people, please, elect people who are known. And he mentioned the name of our former member of parliament. He was called Saina. He mentioned the name of another very wealthy and known person called Chesire. And he said, I understand there are some characters running around here, you know, and we don't know them. So be very careful. So, and I was in the crowd there, you know, okay. So, but it didn't deter me. I ran, and finally I defeated these big people in the KANU nominations. So then we were all KANU now nominees. Then President Moi came to Eldoret for the presidential rally. Now I have been nominated. We were 3 people nominated in Uasin Gishu. So then President Moi is there and he says, okay. He, of course, campaigned, asked for his votes, and then he said, okay, and there are people who have been elected here, members of parliament. In fact, one of the members of parliament, one of the 3, had been elected unopposed. He was called Mr. Tarar. So he said, thank you very much. You have elected Mr. Tarar unopposed. And then there was another teacher there. He had also been nominated. And then myself. And so when it came to me, he said, then there is this other one who, I don't know his parents. And, but anyway, he has been because he has been nominated as a member of KANU, please vote for him. So that was the problem. That Marsden. And I tried to explain to you that time. I felt it was very unfair that not having a background became a big problem to my election. And then moving on to the lunch. Again, Marsden Madoka has talked about this lunch business. So subsequently, of course, when I had been elected and I was, and I used to speak a lot, you know. I think I have reduced nowadays. And of course, Moi started to see, oh, this young man is a bit noisy, but he speaks sense, or so he thought. So slowly, he said, he asked Bishop Yego then, and another gentleman called Hosea Kiplagat. So he told them, this young man, I understand he's a member of our church, the IC church, okay. But why is he making noise? Why don't you look for him? So Bishop Yego came and met me, and then he told me, now, you know, and Bishop Yego is somebody I really have a lot of respect for, because when I wanted to get married, I went to look for him to come and preside over my wedding, because I had a lot of regard for him. So he came and told me, now you have been elected. Moi is like your father. And you are also a Christian. So in all this noise you're making, where is your Christianity? And where is your regard for this old man as your father? So they cornered me, and I had to tone down. And of course, there was Marsden, who also gave me a few lectures. And so finally, I made friends with President Moi. He came to understand that I wasn't quite a very useless person or noisy, you know. And progressively, then he appointed me to be an assistant minister. I think a year and a half into my being a member of parliament. And so I joined Marsden. And when I then joined Moi, he became very fond of me, so he gave me something that many people did not have. It's only people like Amos Wako and senior people, including my minister. There used to be something called a hotline those days. This hotline thing was a telephone there that did not have secretaries. It was the president's telephone. He used to use it to call people directly himself. So if that phone rang, you know it was either the president on the line or one of the senior people. So I became the only assistant minister then with a hotline. So the president would pick up the phone, okay, where are you? Come and do this, this, this. So, so a few times, it was not always Marsden, a few times I came for lunch here. But you see, the problem that Marsden has not said is that he used not to go for lunch. You see? And he tried to persuade me to join into the group of people not going for lunch. So I remember during lunchtime, he would shut his door and take a nap in his office. True, Marsden? Yes. Just imagine now somebody telling you, during lunchtime, we take a nap, tulale. So, and it took a lot of offense when I took so much time on this lunch business, which he didn't have business with. So, but you admit, Marsden, I answered all the questions. When I didn't go for this lunch, I answered all the questions well, very well. And we did very well then as a pack, myself working under Marsden. And finally, he has mentioned something about ambition, that I was a fairly ambitious person, which is true. I tried to do whatever I set my hands on to do. I tried to do it well, and to do it with passion, and to do it with commitment. And I have no regrets whatsoever in being ambitious and having a passion for what I do, because I have come across many leaders, many members of parliament, many governors, people who are elected. And once they are elected, they behave as if they were forced into these offices. They are very reluctant. They lose interest. They don't have interest in what they are doing. They have no passion for what they are doing. And they end up doing a very poor job of the very heavy responsibilities that come with leadership. You find there are people who are very reluctant leaders. They are there. They do not want to engage with the stuff they are supposed to do. They become big people, bigger than the jobs that they have applied for. And they just want to own the title and the position without doing what is expected of them. And that is what Marsden has written in his book. It's not about position, it's not about title. It's about what gets done. Many a times I am accused of micromanaging stuff. But you see, when you have reluctant people whose mentality it is, tumeona serikali nyingi, we've been here, we've seen many ministers, we've seen many presidents, because it is the business as usual stuff. It is the roll of the mill, normal stuff. And that is the reason why I have taken it upon myself in the last 3 years to raise the ambition of our country. For far too long, Marsden, we have worked with the usual. We have made peace with mediocrity. We have, our standard has been the average. And somebody wrote a book and said, the enemy of the average. It makes you think you are not too bad, but it limits your ambition to do anything better. So, that ambition, my boss, Marsden, is what is driving me in this country. Yes, we cannot continue to make peace with mediocrity. We cannot operate with the average. We cannot be about the usual and the normal. We have to raise our ambition. We have to raise the bar and our standard. And it has to move from the ordinary to the extraordinary. That is driving all the things we are doing. You know very well, my predecessors, President Moi was great with education. Mwai Kibaki rolled our country into something called free primary education and made a huge contribution to getting everybody into school. Many thought free primary education was not a reality. It became a reality under President Kibaki. My good friend Uhuru Kenyatta told us we must do 100% transition. There were too many kids, slipping away after primary school, many dropping after secondary school. He encouraged us to do 100% transition. And it became my responsibility then to make meaning of all that. 100% free primary brought many kids into school. 100% transition made sure there were many children in the subsequent classes. And we ran into a very big problem on classrooms, teachers, and money to teach. And that is what has occupied me for the last 3 years. We have built an additional 23,000 classrooms to take care of both free primary and 100% transition. By January, we will have hired 100,000 teachers, again, to take care of the same problem. And today, we have a student-centered model that puts more money into our TVETs and our universities, again, to make sure that no child is left behind. We're basically doing what is necessary for us to develop the human capital that is going to support the transformation of our country. We are raising our ambition in the transformation of our agriculture. In the last 3 years, we have done 3 fundamental things. Number one, we have registered all our farmers because information, data, is central to any successful planning. Registered all our farmers. We now have a digital register of 7.1 million farmers. Tea farmers, coffee farmers, sugarcane farmers, maize farmers, wheat farmers, our livestock keepers. Number two, we have dealt firmly with brokers and cartels and characters who are undermining our agricultural productivity. Number three, we have brought government subsidy into the equation, not to subsidize consumption, but to subsidize production. That's why we are subsidizing our fertilizer, we are subsidizing seeds, we are putting more money into the milk sector, public resources. And today, I can confidently say that we have laid a good base. Our tea farmers are producing more, making more money. Our coffee farmers are producing more. Our coffee prices have improved significantly, from about 60 shillings a kilo to almost 120 shillings a kilo. Our wheat farmers are making more money. Our maize farmers, in fact, maize is the place we have made the biggest impact. We've increased our production of maize from an average of 40 million every year to 64 million last year, and by God's grace to 75 million this year. And we are stabilizing that space. We're simply doing what we must. And I can say the same thing with our health. For a long time, health was a privilege for those who have jobs and those who can afford. We're now transitioning that because the Constitution of Kenya tells us health is not a privilege for those who can afford. It is a right for every citizen. And that is why from 7 million registered people under NHIF, we now have 26.5 million people registered in SHA, and we are making progress. In essence, what I'm saying is that we have operated for far too long with the average and the usual and the ordinary. It is time for us to up our game, to raise our ambition. And we are beginning to have a conversation as a country. In this place where you are sitting, in the last 2 months, I have sat with all the members of parliament and senators in this place, one by one, to explain to them why Kenya is a third world country by mistake, and by mistake of us, the leaders. There is absolutely no reason why Kenya today is a third world country. It is us, the leaders, who are to answer. We are the people responsible for our country being a third world country today. Because just imagine, I have had engagement with 2 heads of state who were similar to us 60 years ago at a personal level. I asked the president of Singapore to come and see me. He came here in 2023. I have visited the president of South Korea 3 times in my presidency. Just because Singapore and South Korea were exactly like Kenya 60 years ago. Today, they are in the first world, we are in the third world. Singapore, for example, was exactly, and you have been following pictures, Singapore was exactly like Kibera, a slum, 60 years ago. Today in Singapore, 97% of their people are home owners. In Kenya, 7 million people live in slums, and home ownership is limited to 30,000, 40,000 mortgages every year. Korea, South Korea, if you look at the GDP per capita of South Korea, in 1963, it was $79, exactly like Kenya. GDP per capita for Kenya in 1963 was $80. Today, GDP, and by the way, South Korea is an agricultural country like Kenya. We are the same in everything. Their education was like ours. Their economy was our size. Their people, population, almost the same. But today, South Korea is in the first world with a GDP per capita 20 times that of Kenya. In fact, they lend us the money, 80 billion shillings. South Korea lend us to do Konza City. Just imagine. The difference between us and them? Leadership. It's not money, it's not resources, it's not all those, it's just leadership. And that is why I've taken time over the last 2 months to speak to leaders, members of parliament, senators. I brought here governors, because we have an opportunity of a lifetime to get Kenya out of this third world place and make it a first world country in our lifetime. It will not take us so long. It will take us between 20 and 30 years, and Kenya will be a first world country if we do the right things. Marsden, you are right about ambition. That is what it is. So, let me finalize I do not want to make this longer than it is. I just found a good man who worked with me, and he inspired me to say some things. Today, as we have this ceremony, last Friday I had a big meeting here with our principal secretaries because we're trying to resolve the issue of young people, the youth of our nation. And by the way, you know, what Marsden was saying here, that the limits are being pushed by our young people. It is correct. You know, the restlessness of our young people, the impatience of the young people in Kenya is because for far too long we are operating around the average, you know, the normal, this roll-of-the-mill stuff. And yet we have tremendous potential. So they are not entirely wrong. They are pushing the limits. And that is why we need to up our game. Yeah? And so it's the reason why we have a four-pronged plan on how we're going to create opportunities. These young people are looking for opportunities. They are looking for opportunities to work. They are looking for opportunities to do business. They are looking for opportunities to learn, to grow, to, you know, to be part of the drive that we have as a nation. And it is because it is in the DNA of Kenya not to be average, but to be excellent. That's our DNA. And that's why you see people are restless, people are impatient, because that's what we are made of. We are not made to participate. We are made to win. You know, we are not made to be part of what, you know, the roll of the mill. We are made to excel. So, and I take it very positively when I see the push, when people push me, you know, as by God's grace, I'm the leader of this nation today. And it is my responsibility. You know, when I get pushed, it is because I am the leader. Who else was supposed to be pushed? You know? Sinimimi. Yeah, so it is the correct thing. So, and I will also push the limits for our nation because we can do it. So as I talk to you today, we had a meeting with the principal secretaries here. Today across Kenya, in every county, we are having a conversation about youth entrepreneurship. Working with the World Bank, we have raised 5 billion shillings to give 100,000 young people in Kenya money to scale up their businesses, and we are in the process of identifying them. I have asked counties, county governments, members of parliament, MCAs, chiefs, assistant chiefs to work with us. The target is to have 1 million young people benefit. We're starting with 100,000. By the end of this month, we'll begin the process of releasing the 5 billion shillings to make sure that in every ward in Kenya, we identify 70 young people between the age of 18 and 29 who are doing business so that we can give them business support grants. We're also looking for 90,000 other young people who have no formal training so that we can take them through formal training, pay for their stipend, make sure that we support them to gain skills and competencies working with with our TVETs. We are also identifying close to 20 or 30,000 others who will go through what we call recognition of prior learning so that we can certify them. Many of them are working in our affordable housing programs and all the other programs. And we want to identify another almost 700,000 young people to support them to be part of the AGBO process, government procurement. We have a lot of government procurement that's going on, and young people are not participating because of many roadblocks. So we want to prepare them so that the budget we have a huge budget of procurement, close to 200 billion, that is supposed to be reserved for young people, people with disability, and women. But that is not, we're not uptaking that, they're not participating, and we want to see how we can improve their skills. So that exercise is going on across Kenya today, and allow me, Marsden, to use this launch of yours to ask members of parliament, members of county assemblies, our Ngao officers from chiefs and assistants to participate with us as we focus on how to mainstream the participation of the young people in our nation, rally their energy, rally their talents into growing our country. Others will be participating in our housing program, markets program, hostels program. Others are participating in our export of labor or labor mobility program. Others are participating in our digital jobs program. Others will participate in what I've just said as we try and create a broader base of opportunities for the young people of Kenya to contribute their talent, their energy, their expertise, their knowledge in driving the economy of our country and in driving the progress and development of Kenya. As we celebrate this remarkable man, Marsden Madoka, let us also take to heart the spirit of his title. Let each one of us, in our own way, strive to be at the ready. Ready to serve, ready to lead, and ready to build a better Kenya for all of us. I thank you, and God bless you.
Another round of applause for His Excellency. And as we do that, allow me now to invite the author, the man of the day, to come and take a seat right here as he does a symbolic signing of a copy of At the Ready. Let's take our seats, please. Kindly, let's take our seats. And I'll request that Your Excellency, you flank him together with Miss Kenya 1963 to also come and flank him as he appends his signature on this wonderful launch day of this particular book. And a round of applause as he appends that signature. Wonderful, wonderful. And isn't it a wonderful story to hear that he met Miss Kenya at State House? He has also come with Grace, his sister, at State House. So who knows? Now that he mentioned that she's also single. State House seems to be a powerful place for powerful connections. After signing of the book, we'll request that then he will present it to His Excellency, after which His Excellency will also sign 5 copies before we have a brief photo session. Also wonderful to see the collaboration that still goes on. Your Excellency, for the photo, we'll request that maybe we can present the copy right here, if you don't mind. Just His Excellency and the author, kindly, to start with. Madam, just 1 second. Yes, 1 second, so that we can have. He can present the book to him. Wonderful. That's right there. So, Your Excellency, we have 5 copies that we'd like you to sign. Okay, maybe we. Perhaps while we're still there, Your Excellency, we may have one photo with the family, just the family members, immediate family members, so that once we proceed to that side, immediate family members, oh, he's here. Chris, come to this side. Thank you, sir. So we now may progress for the signing of the 5 copies, and we'll request that Madam Elizabeth and also Honorable Marsden Madoka, you may proceed to just flank His Excellency as he's signing the 5 copies before we conclude this particular ceremony. Your Excellency, there's also a copy that had been prepared for Her Excellency, the First Lady, so we'll request that you receive it on her behalf. Wonderful.
Since you accused me of lunch, and this is State House.